Well, hello there, welcome along to another Jenny Kirk video here on my channel on YouTube, and today we're going to have a box opening and review. It's a little bit of the old bread and butter stuff, but this is still of great interest to a lot of people, so without further ado, let's take a good look. So what we can see here is we've got item number, let's just have a look at that catalogue number there, 39-229A, and this is a BR Mark 1 Brake Corridor Composite or BCK coach. And this is in the chocolate and cream livery that the Western region of British Rail adopted. This was during the period where the regions were allowed a little bit more autonomy. So what we saw was the Southern region got their all over green, and the Western region went for this chocolate and cream, which hadn't been seen since the days of the Great Western Railway in the 1930s. So it's harking back to that. The coach itself was the BR Standard Mark 1, and this box, you can see from this, is one of the older Bachmann releases, and actually that catalogue number there with the A suffix does mean that this is an item that's hung around in stock for quite some time actually. Now I got it from a small model shop that I use that's local to here, and what it goes to show is that it's possible to get a lot of these items at a really favourable price by just hoovering up what's still in stock at some of the smaller independent model shops that might not necessarily have quite as big a turnover. So I'm going to show you the price actually. I was going to peel it off, but it's been on there so long it's at risk of damaging the box, so it's kind of very stubbornly stayed put. So I got this coach brand new, still in the box, and I actually paid £22 for it. Couldn't be bothered putting the 45p through. So 22 quid for a brand new in-box model is actually very favourable. Second hand, these are commanding pretty reasonable prices, and brand new, I think Bachmann's RRP is certainly around the £40 plus mark. So it's actually a good deal if it's a livery and a running number that you want. And I'm currently trying to put together a full train of these in this particular livery to suit things like the castles and the kings to run out on the shed layout. So we're going to just take it out from all this packaging. We've got lots and lots of, I really don't like this sort of foam, but what it does do is it stops the plastic from rubbing at the end of the coaches, so it does serve a purpose. I'm going to just remove that from there. It hasn't actually been out of the packaging at all since I bought it. And we can see there as well, it still comes with, we've got the doors there which go, they insert into the corridor connectors on the end there, because being a BCK, one of the places these would tend to go is in the end of a train. So rather than having the corridor connector doors wide open there as if it's ready to connect up to an adjacent coach, they would prototypically be shut in this way, because you wouldn't want to kind of walk to an end of a train like la 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 la, open the door and find yourself staring out at the tracks whizzing by. So they'd be locked out of use and the end doors closed to stop muck and all sorts from ingressing. And we've also got, we can see there, a little tail lamp nicely picked out in the white and red. The other items that we've got in here, we've also got, that appears to be a rendition of the coupling that these used. So I'm not quite sure. I can't remember off the top of my head. I can't remember what they're called, but a standard coupler there, and that would fit in on the buffer beam there, and you'd remove the coupling, and it would give you a rendition of the actual coupling connector as it would be when not in use at the end of the vehicle. And what else have we got? We've also got two of Bachmann's close coupling mechanisms. You can see there And these are modelled to look a little bit like the cables that would run from vehicle to vehicle with the electrical power, steam heat, electric train heat, things like that. And they're actually pretty good. They don't come undone, so it's best reserved for if you've got a big fiddle yard where you can keep trains ready made up, all coupled together. I don't have that luxury at the moment, so I'm going to leave those be for now, but hopefully when we build the big layout up in the loft, it's going to give me some opportunity to make up permanent rakes of these, so they'll probably come out of the spares box and be used then. Even though this is one that's been hanging around for a while, it probably dates from, I'm guessing, I'm going to conservatively estimate maybe 2008 to 2010 for this particular release, and it just goes to show that these items are still out there, and more often than not, the prices haven't been massaged upwards. They've remained at the levels from back in the day. And a lot of people complain about the way that the prices have gone up and up and up through the roof from all of the different manufacturers. And this is a really good way of, at least for now, in beating that inflation. Now, the BCK, the Brake Corridor Composite. What's the idea behind this? Well, this is kind of your all-in-one coach. So we've got our standard class, and we've got a little bit of first class in there, very small amount. So these would be very good for your shorter trains, off the beaten track, where there wouldn't be a great big demand for first class, but there might be some. So it provides a small amount of first class accommodation. And then you've also got the guards compartment. So all three things in one coach. These things are very, very useful. We can see on the side here, it's a really good finish. It's kind of like a satin finish, and we've got very clear the chocolate brown, the cream, and then the lining is very, very crisp. And it's something that Bachmann has done particularly well ever since these coaches were introduced. I've never seen a dud, it has to be said. So very crisp, but kind of like a yellow lining. But we've got sort of brown, yellow, brown, very thin brown. And then we've got the cream, brown, yellow. And I think there's even a trace, yeah, there's brown at the top. So there's actually, when you get very close to these, there's quite a progression of these different strips, very thin strips, very close to each other. And that's something that they're completely parallel. And that means that they've been tempo printed exquisitely, perfectly. And it has to be said that, you know, on something as mundane as this, that would be very easy for the manufacturer to mess up, and they haven't. They've got it perfectly done. We've also got here, we've got the British Rail, the coach roundel, and that as well, all tempo printed. I can't see the detail on it with my bare eye. I do actually have a photograph of a real one that I took from a preserved carriage in the York Railway Museum about 10 years ago now. So I've got a picture of the real one, and under a very close magnification, I've got every faith that every little bit of detail on that is going to be exquisitely picked out. We've also got a lot of detail tempo printed to the underframe, so let's have a look here. What have we got? Emergency lighting point is written there. We've also got the star. That's for the vacuum brake blowdown valve, I think. It's where, if, for example, the coach was detached from a train, and what you didn't want would be to put a handbrake on and find that as the vacuum leaks out, the brake would kind of jam on. So it's a way of losing that vacuum so that the handbrake can be put on and still be able to be taken back off by hand. What have we got down here? SHO 3000. I can't read the rest of that. Some of these will be to do with things like body overhauls, bogie overhauls, and they tend to give dates as well. So here we've got BO, which I'm presuming is body overhaul, 16th of the 5th, 62. So sometimes these numbers on the sole bar there allow you to date the approximate period that this coach would have been running in this livery. If it's a preserved coach, those dates would tend to be much more recent, in the sort of 1990s, early 2000s, but this one has a date in 1962, so we can place it quite readily in terms of the time frame of running on a layout. Other tempo printed detail, well, we've got the little rendition down there. I'm actually struggling to read it. Load 1 ton distributed. So, for example, parcels, traffic, luggage, anything like that would be carried in the guards compartment, not to exceed 1 ton and be well spread out. We've got its running number there, W21191. We've also got the numeral there for first class guard. There's a lot of detail on what would otherwise be quite a simplistic model. It's also pleasing to note that the interior as well is unique to the BCK, and it would have been very easy for Bachmann to have just cracked off a generic interior for numerous different coach types and hope that people didn't notice, but they've not done that. And we've got an interior that is unique to the BCK, with the corridor on the other side and the compartments down here. On the windows as well, it's also worth noting, we have tempo printed the no smoking signs and also the lozenges for the first class, and they are really nicely done. In addition to that, the toilet compartments have got the frosted glass effect, and the guards compartment, we can also see there, has got the representation of the bars on the window as per the prototype. In terms of the body sides, this isn't just a rehash of another coach just with a different livery on. This is accurate for the BCK. So we've got the correct progression of doors and windows there, and all the glazing is flush glazed and really nicely done. It's something that Bachmann did very well right from the start. When these were brought out in the early 2000s, they really did blow out of the water the competition. Turning to the ends, we've got our corridor connectors fixed in place, unsprung buffers, nicely done. These oval buffers, even though they're unsprung, they are really well done and they're firmly in place, unlike some of the offerings that we've seen from other manufacturers. We've got tempo printed, the C1 on there, the ends correctly finished in the black, and we've got the steps there to allow staff to be able to reach the roof for maintenance purposes. And then we've also got this finely applied, separately applied wire detail for, I think it must be something to do with wiring or something like that. I'm not entirely sure actually what these represent, but they are very finely done. They're not chunky in any way, and they're actually firmly attached. This is something that Bachmann did very well with these, is they're very robust. They're not likely to shed detail, which some of the stuff from other manufacturers has unfortunately, in more recent years, shown a tendency to. Now, the roof detail is an area that attracted a lot of criticism from the paying public when these first came out, that these ribs that you can see here are exceptionally prominent. When I run my finger over them, you can really feel that they are very pronounced. And it was something that BR was very, very proud of when they built the real ones of these, the way that the seams were fairly unobtrusive, the way that they welded them, they managed to weld them pretty flush. So these just look wrong, and once you've seen them, you can't really unsee them. That said, in more recent releases, Bachmann have retooled the roof, and in many ways they've gone a little bit too far the other way. So you can sand these down a little bit if it really bothers you and refinish the roof, so it's possible to make this a little bit less pronounced. But the newer versions just don't have anything at all. They're completely smooth, and a lot of people have said that really goes far too far the other way. Other detail, again, this roof is specifically for the BCK. It has been tooled up specifically for that. So we can see all of the roof detail, rather than being just a generic roof, is very specific to this model. So we've got the rain strips there for the first class and guards doors. We've got the correct progression of roof fence all the way along and some more rain strips at this end. If I turn to the other end, well, we've also got tempo printed, just like the other end, the C1, but we've also got these wire handrails, and again, exquisitely finished and very, very robust. I mean, I can really give that some stick, and it's not coming out, and I really love this with the Bachmann models. You can handle these quite roughly. You can even allow a child to handle them, and you're not going to find this trail of bits just left everywhere. Let's turn to the underframe now. The bogies, these are the standard Bachmann bogies that were fitted, at least initially, to the Mark 1s. In traffic, these proved to give quite a rough ride relatively quickly and were quite high maintenance because as the springs and shock absorbers wore out. So these then gave way to the Commonwealth bogies, which alleviated a lot of those issues but were quite heavy, and then ultimately the B4 bogie. But these are correctly finished with the bogie patterns that were fitted from new. And that's something, if you're going to run it in the more modern period, to look out for. That Mark 1 still running on the network today in charter trains, even if presented in this livery, would tend to have B4 or Commonwealth bogies. That said, Bachmann do sell these as a separate item, so you can replace them if you really want to, and they are very easy to do. You can see there's a screw in the middle, one screw, and it all comes out, so you can swap the bogies very, very easily. The couplings themselves are in Bachmann's ultra-reliable close coupling mechanism, so you can see there, as the bogie returns to the centre, it self-centres and draws back in, but as it goes around a tighter and tighter corner, the mechanism automatically pushes the coupling out to ensure that you don't get buffer lock. We've also got a correct progression of battery boxes, vacuum detail, dynamo, all relevant to this particular coach, and that is very pleasing to see. So overall, looking at this, we've got a pretty good effort. Now, I know that more recently, Hornby have brought out their own version of the Mark 1s. Indeed, we did actually review one, because I was very curious myself about comparing the Hornby to the Bachmann coach. And the Bachmann one still stands up very favourably to the Hornby. That said, the Hornby ones can be got for this kind of money, brand new, now. And that really is their saving grace. But if you want some of the more esoteric designs, the BCK, I don't believe that Hornby have put into their range as of yet. If you want these, it's still worth going and tracking them down in some of the shops that have slower moving stock, because you can get them for the same kind of prices as the brand new Hornby ones on the market. Well, I hope that was informative to you. Don't forget to like this video, share it too, and also subscribe to the channel. And you'll be the first to know about new videos as and when they go up. And have a little look back through, because we've got an awful lot of stuff on there now. There's nearly 450 videos, so something for everybody. But until then, you take very good care of yourself. It's very important to me. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, bye for now. Today's video has been brought to you in part thanks to the generous donation of my fans on Patreon. And a special huge thanks goes out to Anthony Kidson, Mark Anthony and Michael Churchwood. If you'd like to help support the show, head on over to patreon.com/Jennifer Kirk. Thank you. Today's video has been brought to you by my books, Bringing Home the Stars, Twinkle Little Star, and also you can get the complete comic collections of All Over the House, Books 1, Books 2, and also the wacky zany Life of Knob T Mouse. Thanks, and catch you later.